2,500 years ago, Babylon was untouchable. They had walls 27 meters thick, the biggest market on the known planet. They controlled the entire ancient world. And then one night, gone. Now, fast forward 2,500 years. Different city, different century, same exact trap.
1975, Rochester, New York. Kodak doesn't just sell cameras. Kodak owns photography. 90% of all films sold in America. 85% of all cameras. If you took a photo, it was Kodak. There was no alternative. They were the category. In that exact year, 1975, one of their own engineers built something. Steve Sasson, 24 years old, just invented the world's first digital camera. He walked into the boardroom and showed them the future. They looked at it, they did the math, and they said, put it in a drawer. Let's go back to Babylon, 539 BC.
Babylon wasn't just powerful, it was the origin of civilization. They invented writing systems, astronomy, mathematics. Trade routes stretched across the entire known world. Their walls were so thick, ancient writers said chariot races happened on top. Nobody was coming in. Nobody was getting them out. They were untouchable, and they knew it. So when Cyrus the Great arrived with the Persian army, Babylon was throwing a party. King Belshazzar hosted a massive feast. They weren't watching. They weren't worried. Why would they be? The walls were 27 meters thick.
Cyrus didn't attack the walls. He found the Euphrates River running underneath the city. His army redirected it, dug a bypass. The water drained. And then they walked in, through the dry riverbed, under the walls, while the king was still eating. The threat didn't come from where they were looking. It came from where they stopped looking.
Back to Kodak. Same trap, different river. Steve Sasson put his digital camera in a drawer in 1975. Kodak's reasoning was logical. Film was printing money. Film processing was 70% of their profits. If digital took off, film died. Simple math. So they classified the project, told Sasson to keep quiet, and went back to counting their money. Meanwhile, in Japan and California, other companies had no golden goose to protect. Sony released the first commercial digital camera in 1981. Canon followed in 1984. By 1990, digital cameras hit the mass consumer market. Kodak finally launched their own, years late, playing catch-up. By 2000, camera phones appeared. Every phone became a camera. Film became irrelevant overnight. In 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy, 37 years after they built the weapon that destroyed them. The safe was still in the basement.
Here's what actually happened in both cases. Babylon wasn't weak. Kodak wasn't stupid. They were both too successful to be scared. This is what I call dominance blindness. The longer you win, the harder it is to imagine losing. Your own success becomes the wall you can't see over. Babylon had literal walls and thought they were safe. Kodak had market share and thought the same thing. Neither saw the threat because the threat didn't look like a threat yet. It looked small, irrelevant, not ready. Until it was. The Persian army didn't invent water. They used the river Babylon forgot to guard. Sony didn't invent imaging. They built the camera Kodak refused to release. The weapon that destroys you is usually already in your house. So what does this mean right now? Blockbuster had data on what people wanted to watch before Netflix existed. Taxi companies owned the road before Uber. Banks had the transaction infrastructure before crypto. Nokia had the smartphone in prototype form in 2003. They all saw it. They all said, not a threat yet. The trap is not ignorance. The trap is comfort. The most dangerous moment for any system is when everything works perfectly.
That's when you stop watching the river. Babylon fell in one night.
Kodak fell over 37 years. Same trap, different speed. Next, Google and the Library of Alexandria. They made the exact opposite mistake and ended up in the same place.